Today, we are going to do something a little bit different.
Oh, yeah.
I want to start with a challenge, a very small, very mundane challenge.
Okay, I'm listening.
I want you to take out your phone or, look at the wall calendar if you're old school and scroll to the middle of February.
Done.
Find that third Monday. You see it. It's sitting right there, usually promising a 3-day weekend.
Yep, got right here.
Now, answer me one simple question. What day is it?
It sounds like a trick question, doesn't it?
It feels like one.
Because if you ask 10 different people, you might get 3 or 4 different answers. And the funny thing is, they might all be technically correct, depending on where they live or who they work for.
Exactly. I did this experiment myself. I looked at my digital calendar, and it said President's Day.
Okay, with the apostrophe after the S.
After the S, plural possessive. Then I looked at a printed calendar I got from a bank, and it said Washington's birthday.
The original official name.
Right. And then, of course, I saw a mattress sale ad that said President's Day with no apostrophe at all.
The AP style.
It's an identity crisis wrapped in a long weekend.
It really is. And that confusion is the perfect entry point for what we are doing today.
It sets the whole thing up.
Our mission is to untangle the history of the third Monday in February. And I have to say, looking at the research stack we have for this deep dive, this might be the messiest, most complicated, and strangely fascinating holiday on the American docket.
It really is. If you are listening to this thinking, oh great, an hour on George Washington chopping down a cherry tree, you are in for a surprise.
A big one.
We are not talking about myths today. We are talking about a 1,400-pound wheel of cheese that terrorized the White House.
Which is a factual historical event, not a metaphor. I want to stress that. A real cheese.
We are talking about a glitch in the Matrix that literally deleted 11 days of George Washington's life.
Yeah.
Just poof, gone.
Vanish.
We are going to look at a massive tree planting campaign during the Great Depression that involved 10 million trees.
10 million.
Okay, now we are going to find out how a civil rights icon in Arkansas ended up sharing the billing with a Virginia slaveholder.
It is a story about how America tries and often struggles to standardize its memory. We want our history to be neat and tidy like a column of soldiers, but the reality is just so much more chaotic.
It's messy.
So much messier.
So let's unpack this, and we have to start with the why.
Yeah.
Why is there so much confusion about the name? It starts with the man himself, George Washington.
Right.
The federal holiday is listed as Washington's birthday. So let's start with the foundational question. When was George Washington born?
Well, if you could build a time machine, travel back to Virginia in the 1740s and find a teenage George Washington,
Okay.
and you asked him, George, when do you blow out the candles? He would look you in the eye and say, February 11th, 1731.
Okay, hold on. Wait a second. I went to public school. I know for a fact that the textbooks say February 22nd, 1732.
They do?
That is not a rounding error. That is a difference of a year and 11 days. Was he lying about his age? Was he trying to get into the militia early or something?
No, nothing like that. He wasn't lying. He was just living through a massive bureaucratic operating system update.
An OS update for time itself.
Pretty much. You have to remember, time is a construct, especially in the 18th century. The British Empire, and by extension the American colonies, were using the Julian calendar.
A Julian calendar.
That's
the one Julius Caesar invented.
Correct. It dates back to 45 BC. And for a long time, it was the standard. But it had a bug in the code, a tiny one.
What was the bug?
It calculated the solar year as exactly 365.25 days. The problem is, the actual solar year is about 11 minutes shorter than that.
11 minutes. That doesn't seem like enough to ruin a calendar.
In a single lifetime, no, not at all. But over 1,600 years.
Oh, what?
Those minutes stack up. By the mid-18th century, the Julian calendar was about 11 days out of sync with the actual solar seasons.
So spring was starting later on the calendar than it was in reality.
Exactly. Easter was drifting towards summer. It was becoming a real problem. The Catholic Church had actually fixed this back in 1582 under Pope Gregory III.
Hence the Gregorian calendar we use today.
That's the one. He fixed the math.
But the British didn't switch. In 1582.
No way. The British were Protestant. They looked at the Gregorian calendar and saw a popish plot.
A Catholic conspiracy to control time.
Seriously, they refused to adopt it. So for nearly 2 centuries, if you traveled from, say, France to England, You were literally traveling back in time by 11 days.
That is wild. It's like a time zone change, but for weeks. It must have been a nightmare for merchants.
A total nightmare for commerce and diplomacy. And by the 1750s, the drift was becoming a commercial impossibility. So Parliament finally bit the bullet.
They gave in.
They passed the Calendar Act of 1750. They decided to switch to the Gregorian system. But to get back in sync with the sun and the rest of Europe, they had to do something drastic.
What did they do?
They had to delete the drift.
This is the glitch we teased. How do you delete days? You can't just cross them out.
You literally just declare that they don't exist. So, in September 1752, the British government decreed that the day following September 2nd would not be September 3rd.
Wait, what?
It would be September 14th.
So September 3rd through the 13th just vanished.
Gone, wiped from the official record. If your birthday was September 5th, 1752, you just didn't have one that year.
That's insane.
You went to bed on a Tuesday and woke up on a Thursday nearly 2 weeks later.
That sounds like a sci-fi plot. Did people freak out? I would freak out.
Oh, people definitely freaked out. There were reports of riots, people shouting, "Give us back our 11 days."
They thought their lives were being shortened.
They legitimately thought the government had stolen 11 days of their lifespan. It was a massive psychological shock. But for Washington, this had a specific personal impact.
Right, because his birthday was in February.
Exactly. And it's not just the 11 days. There was another change. Under the old Julian system, the new year began on March 25th, a date called Lady Day.
Not January 1st.
Not January 1st, but under the new Gregorian system, the new year began on January 1st. Washington was born in February.
Okay. I think I see where this is going.
So under the old style, he was born near the end of the year 1731.
Right, because March hadn't happened yet.
But under the new style, February is at the beginning of the year 1732.
So he gains a year in the record books.
And he has to add the 11 lost days to his birth date to align with the new calendar. So February 11th became February 22nd.
It's fascinating that Washington was alive for this. He was a young man, about 20 years old. He had to personally edit his own biography in real time.
And he did. He fully adapted to the new style, as they called it. He celebrated on February 22nd for the rest of his life.
So when we celebrate Washington's birthday now, we aren't celebrating the day his mother actually gave birth.
No. We are celebrating a mathematical correction imposed by an act of parliament to fix a bug in a Roman calendar.
Which honestly sets the tone for everything we are going to discuss.
Huh.
This holiday has never been simple. It's always been about government decrees trying to manage time.
Precisely. Now, even though Washington adopted the 22nd, it took a long, long time for the government to catch up.
People celebrated it though, right? Unofficially.
Oh, absolutely. Washington's birthday was celebrated for decades. The 1832 centennial, 100 years after his birth, was a huge national event. Parades, speeches, everything. But it wasn't a federal law.
When did it become official?
Not until 1879, President Rutherford B. Hayes signed it into law. But here is a detail that gets overlooked.
What's that?
The push for the law came from Senator Stephen Wallace Dorsey of Arkansas, and originally the law was very, very limited.
How so?
It only applied to federal employees in the District of Columbia.
Get out. So it was a local perk for D.C. bureaucrats.
That's exactly what it was. If you were a federal postal worker in Philadelphia or Boston, you were out of luck. You were working.
That's unbelievable.
It wasn't until 1885 that Congress expanded it to include all federal workers nationwide.
And we should pause on the significance of that, because this was the first time the federal government honored a person,
Right.
an individual.
That's a huge point. Before this, we had the 4th of July honoring the nation's birth. We had Thanksgiving honoring God and the harvest. But to single out a human being,
A citizen.
an individual citizen, that was unprecedented. It established a pantheon of one. You had to be the father of the country to get a day off.
But today, we don't celebrate it on February 22nd. We celebrate it on this floating Monday.
Right.
This is where we move from 18th century astronomy to 20th century economics.
Enter the Uniform Monday Holiday Act of 1968.
It sounds so dry, Uniform Monday Holiday Act. But this piece of legislation completely rewired the American calendar.
It did. By the late 1960s, the cultural vibe was shifting, but the real driver here was the economy. There was a coalition formed by the travel industry, the retail sector, and labor unions.
An unlikely trio.
Very. But their goal was simple: create more 3-day weekends.
Because a holiday on a Wednesday is a productivity killer.
It is the worst case scenario for a factory or an office. If a holiday falls on a Thursday, you get what they call the Thursday flu.
Right, people call in sick on Friday to bridge the gap.
Of course they do. Factories have to shut down and restart, which is expensive.
Mm.
But a Monday holiday, that is efficiency. That keeps the machines running Tuesday through Friday.
And it boosts tourism.
Big time. Families can travel, people go out and spend money.
So Senator Robert McClory of Illinois introduces this bill to move everything to Monday.
Right. Public Law 9363. It moved Washington's birthday, Memorial Day, and Columbus Day to predetermined Mondays. For Washington, the designated slot was the third Monday in February.
And this brings us to the great irony of the date. My favorite part of this story.
It's my favorite bureaucratic paradox. Let's do the calendar math. The third Monday of any month can only fall between the 15th and the 21st.
Walk me through that. How does it work?
Okay, so think about the earliest it could be. If February 1st is a Monday, the third Monday would be the 15th.
Got it.
Now the latest. If February 1st is a Tuesday, the first Monday is the 7th, the second is the 14th, the third is the 21st. That is the latest it can possibly be.
Right. There's no way to push it to the 22nd.
The window is the 15th to the 21st.
And Washington's actual corrected Gregorian birthday is the 22nd.
Exactly. By legally mandating the holiday to be the third Monday, Congress guaranteed that the federal holiday celebrating Washington's birthday can never actually occur on Washington's birthday.
That is amazing. We moved the party so we could have a long weekend, but we ensured we would miss the actual anniversary 100% of the time.
It was a clear signal of priorities. The uniform Monday concept, the leisure and economic utility that trumped the historical accuracy.
Now, this act is also where the President's Day confusion starts. Because I think most people assume that Congress renamed the holiday to include Lincoln, right?
That is the common wisdom, but it is a myth, a complete myth.
So that never happened.
During the debate for the 1968 Act, there was absolutely a proposal to rename the holiday President's Day. The logic was that Lincoln's birthday is February 12th, Washington's is the 22nd, so the third Monday sits nicely between them.
Seems like a slam dunk. Why not honor both?
It does, but it failed in committee. There was strong pushback, particularly from legislators from Virginia who felt that diluting Washington's honor was a mistake.
They wanted to keep him on a pedestal.
They wanted to keep him paramount. So the name change was stripped out of the final bill.
So legally, right now, as we're speaking, what is the holiday called?
If you look at the United States Code, Title 5, Section 6103, the holiday is Washington's birthday. Period. Full stop.
So President's Day doesn't exist in federal law.
It does not. In fact, federal entities are strictly required to use Washington's birthday.
Like who?
The National Weather Service, for example. They are required to use Washington's birthday in their forecasts and documents. They cannot use President's Day because it isn't the legal name.
So President's Day is basically a marketing term that's stuck.
It's a cultural nickname that became so popular we all just accepted it as fact. Retailers loved it because President's Day sale sounds broad and grand.
And the public loved it.
The public loved it because they wanted to honor Lincoln, so we collectively overruled the law in our daily speech.
Speaking of things we struggle with,
Right.
the grammar. This is something that drives me crazy every February. You see it spelled 3 different ways.
The apostrophe catastrophe.
Let's break it down, because this actually changes the meaning of the holiday, doesn't it?
It absolutely does. You have 3 contenders. First, you have President's Day, plural possessive, that's Presidents apostrophe.
Okay, that implies the day belongs to all the presidents. A day for all of them.
Right. This is the style favored by the Chicago Manual of Style and Merriam-Webster. It's the Hall of Presidents approach. It collectivizes the honor.
Makes sense.
Then you have President's Day, no apostrophe at
So
all.
the tributive form, like Veterans Day.
Exactly. In this case, Presidents is acting as an adjective modifying day. The Associated Press, the AP style book, uses this.
What's their logic?
Their logic is that it is a day for presidents, not a day earned by them. It's descriptive.
Okay, I can see that. And the third one, the one that feels the most wrong to me.
President's Day. Singular possessive, apostrophe before the is.
Which implies it belongs to one guy.
Usually Washington, or maybe the president as an institution. While it's the most confusing if you're trying to honor multiple people, there are about 8 states that actually use this singular spelling in their legal codes.
It's amazing how a piece of punctuation can be political. Is it for the man, or the office?
It reflects the ambiguity. We don't really know who we are celebrating, so we don't know where to put the apostrophe.
And that ambiguity brings us to the laboratory of democracy, the states. You mentioned that the federal law only applies to federal employees.
Correct. The federal government can't dictate state holidays. They can set an example, but states have to pass their own laws. And when the states looked at the Uniform Monday Holiday Act, they decided to get creative.
Creative is a nice word for chaotic.
It is a patchwork, a complete mess. You have states like Colorado, Ohio, and Utah. They looked at the federal refusal to rename the day and said, fine, we'll do it ourselves.
So they changed the name.
They legally named their holiday Washington Lincoln Day, or similar variations. They codified the dual honor that Congress rejected.
Which makes sense. Lincoln is consistently ranked as a top-tier president. People want to honor him.
Right. But then you have Alabama. Alabama celebrates George Washington Thomas Jefferson birthday.
Jefferson. Wait, but Jefferson was born in April.
He was. But Alabama decided to bundle the Virginians together.
Why?
It's a unique choice, perhaps reflecting regional pride or specific reverence for the Southern founders, but it completely ignores calendar logic.
Are there any other weird ones? Because that's pretty weird.
New Mexico is a pragmatic masterpiece. They observe President's Day, but they don't do it in February.
They don't.
They observe it on the Friday after Thanksgiving
Wait, what? Why?
to create a 4-day weekend for Thanksgiving.
That's brilliant.
Isn't it? They realized that a random Monday in February isn't as valuable to state employees as a super long weekend in November. So they took the holiday credit and moved it on the calendar.
That is incredibly practical.
Yeah.
It divorces the day completely from the history. It's just a token to be traded for leisure.
Exactly. Then you have states like Georgia and Indiana, which have in the past observed Washington's birthday on Christmas Eve.
Christmas Eve. You're kidding.
Nope. Again, calendar management. If you're a state employee, having Christmas Eve off is a huge perk, so they shift the observance.
So much for a uniform Monday.
It really highlights how the Uniform Monday Holiday Act created a holiday that is applied so non-uniformly across the map.
But there is one state that stands out above all the others for the specific statement it makes. We teased this in the intro. Arkansas.
Yes. This one is really something. Arkansas celebrates George Washington's birthday and Daisy Gatson Bates Day.
That is a stunning combination. On one side of the hyphen, you have the father of the country, a Virginia slaveholder. On the other side, sharing the same 24 hours, is Daisy Bates.
It is arguably the most provocative pairing in the American calendar, where it forces you to stop and think.
For listeners who might not know her story, let's do a quick deep dive on Daisy Bates. Who was she?
She was a powerhouse of the civil rights movement in the mid-20th century, an absolute force. She was the president of the Arkansas NAACP and the publisher of the Arkansas State Press, a black newspaper.
But she's most famous for her role in 1957.
The integration of Central High School, the Little Rock Nine,
Right.
when those 9 black students were trying to enter that high school facing screaming white mobs and the Arkansas National Guard blocking the doors.
An unbelievable scene.
Daisy Bates was the strategist behind the scenes. She was their mentor. Her house was the command center. She organized their transportation, their tutoring, everything.
And she paid a heavy price for that.
A huge price. Rocks were thrown through her windows. Crosses were burned on her lawn. She received constant death threats. Advertisers boycotted her newspaper until it went out of business. But she held the line. She was the person who held that movement together on the ground with incredible courage.
So how did she end up on the holiday with Washington?
Well, years later, the state authorities decided she deserved a day of honor for her impact on Arkansas history. By placing her on the 3rd Monday in February, they created a holiday that forces a conversation.
You can't ignore that pairing.
You can't. You are celebrating the establishment of the nation alongside the struggle to make that nation live up to its promises.
It's the thesis and the antithesis, the founder and the reformer.
Exactly. It transforms the holiday from a generic mattress sale Monday into a profound reflection on what leadership looks like in different eras. Washington led a revolution against a king. Bates led a revolution against a caste system. Both required immense physical courage.
It really adds a layer of depth that simply calling it President's Day erases completely.
It does. It makes the history active rather than passive. It makes it relevant.
I want to pivot back in time now. We talked about the modern confusion and the state-by-state chaos. But there was a time when celebrating Washington wasn't ambiguous. It was a massive, coordinated national extravaganza.
You were talking about the 1932 bicentennial.
1932, the 200th anniversary of his birth.
This is a forgotten chapter for most Americans, but the scale of the celebration was just mind-boggling. You have to understand the context. It's 1932.
The Great Depression.
The absolute bottom of the pit. Unemployment is skyrocketing, banks are collapsing, people are starving, the Dust Bowl is raging. National morale is effectively zero.
So the government needed a distraction, a morale boost.
They needed something to rally the country. They needed a symbol of resilience and endurance, so they turned to Washington.
Makes sense.
A commission had been established back in 1924 by Calvin Coolidge, but 1932 was the main event. A congressman named Saul Bloom was the director, and they decided that a day wasn't enough.
What did they do?
They declared a celebration that lasted 9 months.
9 months. From when to when?
From February 22nd until Thanksgiving. It was a continuous season of George Washington, and they mobilized every corner of society.
Like what? What did they do?
One of the most incredible projects was the 10 Million Trees campaign.
10 million trees. That sounds like a modern climate change initiative.
It does, but back then it was framed as patriotic monuments. The American Tree Association partnered with the commission. The idea was that trees are enduring and straight growing, which they saw as a metaphor for Washington's character.
That is a lovely image, a living monument.
And people really did it. This wasn't just a top-down thing. We found records from Wilmette, Illinois, where local garden clubs planted elms, hawthorns, and 400 prairie rose bushes along the riverbanks.
Just normal citizens getting their hands dirty for George.
Exactly. In Paterson, New Jersey, school children planted 1,000 trees. It gave people something to do, something to believe in when the economy was falling apart. It was a collective act of hope.
And it wasn't just trees. You mentioned the pageantry.
Oh, the pageants were Hollywood-level productions, especially for the time. In La Crosse, Wisconsin, they staged a kiddie parade and a grand pageant with 600 cast members portraying scenes from Washington's life.
600 people in a local pageant during the Depression.
Yes. They actually hired pageant experts from the Rogers Producing Company in Ohio to come in and direct it.
Unbelievable.
In Paterson, NJ, they used a brand new stadium and had 1,500 participants, including 200 dancers. And here's a detail I love. The source material mentions they used loudspeaker radio transmission to amplify the voices.
That was high-tech in 1932.
It was the cutting edge. It sounds like the Super Bowl halftime show of 1932. And it was happening in cities all over the country.
So it was everywhere.
There were even puppet shows touring schools. The George Washington Puppet Show by the Bobby Fulton Players gave 15 performances in one area alone. The country was absolutely saturated with Washington imagery.
But perhaps the most lasting legacy of 1932 wasn't a tree or a puppet. It was a medal.
The Purple Heart. This is a direct result of the bicentennial.
I did not realize the Purple Heart was tied to 1932. I thought it was much older than that.
The concept is older. Washington created the Badge of Military Merit in 1782.
Okay.
It was a piece of purple cloth in the shape of a heart given to enlisted men for singularly meritorious action. It was revolutionary at the time, honoring common soldiers. But after the revolution, it fell into disuse. It was forgotten for 150 years.
So who brought it back?
General Douglas MacArthur. He was the Army Chief of Staff in 1932. He was a huge history buff and a master of public relations. He wanted to revive the award to honor Washington's 200th birthday.
So he links his modern army back to the founding.
Precisely. He worked with the commission to redesign it into the medal we know today, with Washington's profile on it.
And originally, it wasn't just for wounds, right?
No, originally it was for meritorious service or wounds. It wasn't until 1944, during World War II, that it became the specific award for those wounded or killed in action.
So every time we see a Purple Heart today, we're looking at a souvenir from that 1932 birthday party.
In a very real sense, yes. And there is a really interesting trivia nugget about presidents and Purple Hearts, isn't there?
Yes. John F. Kennedy is the only U.S. president to have received a Purple Heart.
For his service in World War II, he was injured when his PT boat was sunk in the Pacific.
So you have a president holding the medal created by the first president, which was revived to honor that first president. The layers of history are incredibly dense.
It just keeps folding back on itself.
Speaking of layers, we promised the listeners cheese. We have to talk about the cheese.
The mammoth cheese. We cannot do a deep dive on Washington's birthday traditions without discussing the mammoth cheese.
Take us back to 1837. Who's president?
Andrew Jackson is president. He is Old Hickory, the populist, the man of the people. A dairy farmer from New York sends him a gift.
A wheel of cheese.
A wheel of cheese, but not just any cheese. This wheel weighed 1,400 pounds.
1,400 pounds. I'm trying to visualize that. That's like a smart car made of cheddar.
It's enormous. It was 2 feet thick and 4 feet in diameter. It sat in the White House foyer for 2 years, aging.
Sitting there.
For 2 years. And finally, Jackson decides he needs to get rid of it before he leaves office. So on Washington's birthday, February 22nd, 1837, he announces an open house.
Come eat the president's cheese.
Literally. The sources say the White House was thronged with citizens. Thousands of people pushed their way into the White House. The air was reportedly thick with the smell of old cheese and unwashed bodies.
What a scene.
They attacked the cheese with knives and forks. It was gone in 2 hours.
Can you imagine the cleanup?
The stains on the carpets were apparently legendary. The smell lingered for months. But it illustrates something important. In the 19th century, Washington's birthday was a day for the president to interact with the people. It was a rowdy, public, messy celebration.
Which contrasts sharply with the other major tradition, the reading of the farewell address.
Yes. This is the solemn counterweight to the cheese. This started much later, in 1862.
During the Civil War.
During the darkest days of the Civil War, the country was tearing itself apart. The Senate wanted to remind the nation of its origins and the warnings Washington gave about disunity and factionalism.
So they decided to read his words aloud.
Yes. They read Washington's 1796 farewell address aloud on the Senate floor, and they still do this. Every single year, a senator is selected, they alternate parties, to read the address.
I had no idea that still happens.
It takes about 45 minutes. It's a moment where the modern government shuts up and listens to the founder, a tradition born of crisis that continues today.
It's fascinating how Washington serves as this anchor. In the Civil War, we read his words to remember unity. In the Depression, we plant trees for him to remember resilience. He is the ultimate touchstone.
He is. But he isn't the only president who used his birthday for a cause. We have to mention FDR.
Franklin Delano Roosevelt. His birthday is January 30th.
Close to Washington's, but separate. However, in the 1930s, FDR used his birthday to launch a massive fundraising campaign for polio research.
Right, the disease that had paralyzed him.
Exactly. These were the birthday balls. Thousands of parties across the country held on his birthday to raise small amounts of money from everyday people.
And this effort eventually evolved into the March of Dimes.
Wait, the March of Dimes was an FDR birthday party?
Originally, yes, it was a grassroots fundraising campaign tied directly to his birthday. And that is why FDR is on the dime.
Oh, of course.
He died in 1945, and by 1946, they put his face on the coin to honor that specific fundraising legacy.
So Washington is on the quarter put there for the 1932 bicentennial. And FDR is on the dime because of the birthday balls. Our pocket change is basically a scrapbook of these birthday observances.
A metallic history lesson.
I will never look at a handful of change the same way again. It's history hiding in plain sight.
It really is.
So we have covered the history, the weirdness, the solemnity. But we have to address the elephant or the mattress in the room. Commercialization.
The shift from patriotism to sales. When I think of President's Day now, I don't think of the farewell address. I don't think of Daisy Bates. I think of car dealerships and furniture discounts. Was this inevitable?
It wasn't just inevitable, it was planned. It was part of the design.
What do you mean?
Go back to the Uniform Monday Holiday Act of 1968. Remember who supported it?
The private sector?
Right. The Chamber of Commerce, the retail lobbyists. They explicitly told Congress that moving holidays to Mondays would boost the economy. They knew that if you gave Americans a 3-day weekend, they would shop.
So the mattress sales were a feature, not a bug.
Absolutely. The sale was baked into the logic of the holiday shift from the very beginning. By the mid-1980s, the civic nature of the holiday had largely evaporated in the private sector. It became a sales event.
It's just another shopping day, like Black Friday.
Pretty much. And the data backs this up regarding who actually gets the day off, right?
It does. It's really interesting. Studies from the Society for Human Resource Management show that roughly 43% of employers give paid time off for Martin Luther King Jr. Day. But for President's Day, it's only about 39%.
That's surprising. I would have thought the older holiday would have more traction with employers.
You would think so, but it speaks to the dilution of the meaning. MLK Day has a very specific, potent focus on civil rights and service. It means something very clear.
Whereas President's Day has become generic government holiday.
Exactly. For many private sector workers, it's just a normal Monday, perhaps with a slightly later commute because the schools are closed.
The meaning has been bleached out of it.
So let's try to synthesize all of this. We have untangled the dates, the names, the cheese, and the politics. What are we actually celebrating on that third Monday?
It's a layer cake of meaning, isn't it? Officially, at the federal level, we are celebrating Washington's birthday, even though we are doing it on the wrong day.
Right.
Culturally, thanks to the President's Day marketing, we're celebrating the office of the presidency, lumping in Lincoln and everyone else from John Adams to, Joe Biden.
Commercially.
Commercially, it's a Keynesian stimulus package disguised as a history lesson. It's a day to buy a discounted washing machine.
But do you think the Uniform Monday Holiday Act was a mistake? Did we lose something by standardizing it?
I think we gained convenience, but we lost connection. When you move a holiday to a floating Monday, you sever the link to the historical event. It becomes about the weekend, not the day.
The why gets lost.
The why gets lost. And by allowing the states to rename it and move it around, we created a non-uniform map where the holiday means completely different things in Alabama versus Arkansas versus New Mexico.
It's almost poetic, though. Washington spent his life trying to manage a messy, fractious coalition of states with different interests.
That's a great point.
And now his holiday is a messy, fractious patchwork of state laws and commercial interests.
That is the ultimate irony, isn't it? The confusion of the holiday is a perfect reflection of the federalist system Washington helped create.
It's not a bug, it's a feature.
It's not neat. It's not uniform. It's a mix of high ideals, local politics, and pragmatic economics. In a way, it's the most authentically American holiday we have.
I love that perspective. It's a mess, but it's our mess.
Exactly. It shows how we're still negotiating our own history.
So here's our challenge to you, the listener.
Hmm.
This February, when that Monday rolls around, don't just take the day off. Look at your calendar. Look at how your specific state lists the holiday.
Check the official state government website.
Is it Washington? Is it President's? Is Daisy Bates there? Is Jefferson there for some reason?
And ask yourself, what version of history is your state telling you to remember? And maybe, just maybe, read the farewell address.
It's free online.
It's shorter than a mattress sale.
Thanks for diving deep with us into the weirdest square on the calendar. We will catch you on the next one.